How do I create peace within myself? If I want to see more peace in the world, doesn't it start with me? Doesn't it start in my relationships? If I want to see more compassion, if I want to see more generosity, more kindness, where am I in that? Is there something that I can learn to embody so that more of that good energy and connection and kindness and true caring, that I can become a deeper embodiment of that? That's the invitation that this world is constantly giving us. All right, you fabulous humans, welcome back to She Rises. My name's Krista Vieira, and I am really thrilled today. I'm on something. Not actually, I'm not on anything. I'm on life. But I have to say, I got something in my head, and this happens quite regularly, where I get these strong senses of what it is that I want to communicate, or what it is that is running through my mind, and it becomes this thing that I feel really inspired to share. Maybe you can relate to that within your world or within your business. Things start to become themes. They start to show up regularly in your consciousness or in your mind, and it just won't leave you alone. And that's kind of where I'm at with this one. So here's essentially what it is that I wanted to share and talk with you about today, which is that what we are experiencing in our life, or what it is that is going on around us, we are the ultimate authority in our life, in the sense that we are the masters of our state. We are the potential masters of our state, which means that if we are the ones in the driver's seat, if we're noticing the experience coming in and we're noticing our response to it, and we're starting to navigate that space between that stimulus coming in, the gap, and our response coming out, not just an immediate gut reaction, but something that's coming from a deeper, more intentional place inside of us, and we start to be aware of our way of being in the world, there's something really interesting that shifts and happens inside of us. For the most part, we are walking nervous systems. We're just walking around on the world, and I've had a lot of these conversations with people lately where we talk about how the nervous system is actually, something that we are trained from a young age to try to protect ourselves. We're trained from a young age through the interactions that we have with our parents and other people in our life, people in positions of authority. That might have been a sibling, it could have been a teacher, it could have been an uncle or a cousin or an aunt or a grandparent, or just somebody that you respected, family, friend. And we learned through observation, through unconscious recognition of signals and patterns, what was safe and what was not. And I'm not a psychologist, but through the study that I've done with psychology, this is essentially what I've gleaned, is that we've developed frameworks for safety, which formed when we were children, before we were consciously aware any of this was happening. Most of it formed before the age of 6 years old. And then we carried those patterns forward into our teenage years, into our young adult life, into our grown-up life. And now we are walking around, and for a vast majority of us, the same patterns for safety, protection, and well-being are still being played out inside of us. And if you look around at the other people that you know in your life, you might recognize some of that. Every time, this happens in my relationship, this is the response that I get. I want to broach this subject with a friend, but I'm pretty sure that their response is going to be that, because you've gotten used to the way that they respond, because we tend to be pretty predictable. At a certain point, we tend to have some pretty patterned ways of being. And then at some point, we might start looking at ourselves and being like, why do I do that? Why do I respond that way? Or why do I react that way? Why do I have that answer every time this comes up? And we start to recognize, hey, I don't actually know why I instantly say no when somebody asks me if I, want to go and hang out with a big group of people, like say a friend group or something like that. I just say no. I don't actually know what my resistance is, or where that comes from, or what the protection might be that I'm putting into place, but I simply say no. That's my patterned response. This might seem really obvious to some of you, and then to some of you this might be like, oh, I never thought of that. But the reality is that we tend to have very patterned ways of being. Now, they say that 95% of what we do, we're already predetermined to do it. We've created neural pathways. We have responses built into our nervous system for everything. For almost everything that happens, there is a response built into our nervous system, just designed to keep us safe. Not necessarily designed to help us grow, not necessarily designed for us to pursue our dreams. In fact, we will blend our personality and whatever our nervous system is comfortable with to create a very patterned response to things where we say, that's just not me, or that's, I'm not a risk taker. I'm not a type of person who's going to put myself outside of my comfort zone. And we navigate the world like this. So when opportunities come up, or challenges come up, or difficulty comes up, we have a certain way that we respond simply to keep ourselves in a state of equilibrium, even if it's not where we want to be. And this is for most people. This is how most people are moving through the world. So I was thinking about this the other day, and I was thinking about the terminology or the language that there's, you, especially within the yoga and the meditation world and that type of thing, people throw the word energy around a lot. And one of the things that you might hear right now about energy is that the energy is heavy, or there's all this kind of stuff going on. And on the one hand, if you're looking at the news and you're looking at where the information is coming from, that might be true. But here's the crux idea that has been coming through my mind that I cannot get rid of. And it's that every single thing that's happening is an invitation to turn deeper into what we know to be true, to turn you or to invite you deeper into your heart, to invite you deeper into a connection with yourself, to invite you deeper into forgiveness, compassion, love, peace, whatever it might be. Every single thing. It can either turn you away from it into fear, into doubt, into worry, into anger, into separation, into protection, or it can invite you to go deeper into what you know. And that is on us. That's our superpower, is that we can start to cultivate this sense of, how is this happening for me? The words, how is this happening for me? Starting to look at everything that's happening as something that might actually have some good in it, or a silver lining, that it's inviting you to learn something about yourself, or that it's inviting you to look at a relationship differently, that it's inviting you to take a new response to something rather than a patterned response or a reactive response, something that knits people together rather than pulls people apart. Maybe an invitation for you to step deeper into your power, maybe an invitation to accept more of yourself. What could it be? How is this happening for you? How is this happening for me? And the reason that this is so important right now is because we're the ones who get to decide. Nobody gets to decide this for us. Nobody gets to decide if the circumstances that are in front of you right now are going to be the things that bring you into that protection and close you off to things, or make an opportunity not feel aligned anymore, or if it's going to invite you into a deeper sense of, okay, this is what growth feels like today. Or this is the invitation to love this person more. This is the invitation to become really calm instead of really agitated. This is the invitation for me to learn how to master my response rather than get overwhelmed. This is the invitation for me to regulate my nervous system rather than go into dysregulation. This is the invitation I've been waiting for, dressed up in a way that I did not expect. And yet it is exactly what I needed. It's exactly what I needed. We have the power to change the lens that we look at the world through. We have this amazing superpower to look at any circumstance and start to see the opportunity. I'm not saying that everything that's happening out there is great. Let me be very clear. I'm not saying that everything that's happening is good. What I am saying is that everything that's happening can invite us into a deeper relationship of compassion and love and goodness within ourselves and with the people in our immediate world. For example, if we look at the world and we think to ourselves, oh, I would love for there to be more peace. I would love for there to be more peace in the world. My invitation would be, hey, go look in the mirror. And is there peace right now within yourself? Is there peace in your own heart? Because if not, that's our invitation. How do I create peace within myself? If I want to see more peace in the world, doesn't it start with me? Doesn't it start in my heart? Doesn't it start in my relationships? If I want to see more compassion, if I want to see more generosity, more kindness, where am I in that? Is there something that I can learn to embody more fully so that more of that good energy and connection and kindness and true caring without looking for anything back, just true loving kindness, loving awareness, that I can become a deeper embodiment of that? That's the invitation that this world is constantly giving us. And everything has the capacity to invite us deeper into that connection, into that conversation. And this is so profound, because we will often look at the things going on outside of us and we've got some thoughts around them. And sometimes those thoughts are ones of judgment, or I wish that wasn't happening. Or we feel that emotional response to things where it's really taking us down in our energy. And we're humans, we're human beings, so we are going to have emotional responses to things. It's so normal, so we want to normalize that. One of the things that we can do is we can say, okay, let me pre-accept that not everything is going to feel good. Let me pre-accept that some things are going to be very challenging. Some experiences are going to be very difficult. And that I actually don't have control over how other people respond, or what's happening halfway around the world, or what's happening with other members of my family, or what's happening in other areas of my community. I don't have any control over the price of gas, right? I don't have any control over that. But I do have control over my response to the world. I do have control over whether or not I take out my frustration over the price of gas on the gas clerk, who had nothing to do with it. I do have control over whether or not I treat people with kindness and respect. I do have the ability to learn how to navigate my emotional being, like the emotions that I feel within myself, the fluctuation of emotion, that roller coaster that exists within our limbic system. I do have the ability to start to notice what sets me off, what makes me sad, what brings me joy, and to start to curate my life, to bring more of the goodness into it, to bring more compassionate moments, to have more compassion for myself as a growing, learning human being who had no manual coming in here, will not leave a manual, just gets to live life day by day, moment by moment, the best that we know how. That's what we have the power to do, is to learn and to grow, and maybe to start asking some of these highly calibrated questions where we say, what in this is happening for me? What's the invitation? Where is the growth of the learning in this for me today? In this moment, could I become more compassionate, forgiving? Could I set a better boundary for myself? Maybe I need a better boundary here. Could I hold a boundary and be kind in saying no to something or someone? What are the invitations? Could I offer forgiveness just so that I can be more lighthearted and free in myself and not carry around something that I don't need to carry around? I'm bringing all this up because these are really common things that we do as human beings. We carry around things from years and years and years ago. We carry around things that are difficult, or we feel powerless in the face of our present circumstances. There's not many people within our community, if any, who can go over to the gas station, I'm just using this as an example, and change the price of gas to, 1.2. There's not a lot of people who can do that right now, right? So that's something that we can't do anything about. There are circumstances like that all over the place. And we can either let it push us down and be part of the cloud over our heads and be part of the burden and part of the difficulty, or we can say, okay, so what can I do? What is the invitation? What choices do I have? And I know that for some of us, this is going to incite a deeper struggle inside of us. It isn't so easy. If it was easy, we'd all be doing this, and we would have done it a long time ago. We would have done it the moment it happened, when we had the moment of frustration or the difficulty. We would have set the boundary at 6 years old instead of trying to learn how to set it at 45. We would have done that, right? So I just want to honor the journey here and just say the most important thing that we can do is say today, what is my invitation? What am I capable of doing with the information that I have, knowing where it is that I want to go, knowing what kind of a life I want to create for myself, what kind of an inner environment I want to be living. Because I'm guessing that we don't all want to be living with anger in our hearts, frustrated every day, feeling overwhelmed, feeling overworked, feeling underpaid, whatever the current scenario or circumstance is. That's not what we want. We want to be feeling the joy of life, the loving relationships, the gratitude of just being alive. We have this one precious life, Marianne Williamson says, this one precious life. What will you do with this one wild and precious life that you have? This is our greatest invitation, is to start to access this part of us that gets to respond rather than react. If everything is an invitation to turn us deeper into compassion, deeper into seeing the oneness between people rather than the segregation, the separation, what would you do with it? What would you do with your day today? Would you give yourself more opportunities to pause? Would you give yourself more opportunities to rest? Would you take a moment to breathe before letting the words come out? What would you do differently? Would you treat yourself more kindly? Talk to yourself differently in your head. Take a different action in your business. If you started to say, okay, the obstacle or the challenge in my business in front of me, the thing that I think I can't do anything about, is an invitation for me to grow an essential skill, or for me to learn how to navigate this type of difficulty, because guess what? At the top of this mountain, I'm at the bottom of the next mountain. And right at the bottom of the next mountain, that skill is going to come in really good handy. As entrepreneurs, we are problem solvers. We are people who go out there and say, there is a need in the world for a certain kind of a thing, or a certain solution for a certain kind of problem. I'm the one who's going to go and solve this. And so being willing to solve a problem every single day is the hallmark of an entrepreneur. That doesn't mean every single day it feels easy. It doesn't mean that we don't have days where we struggle. But that is written into the DNA of an entrepreneur, and it's written into the DNA of the business. And so we start to look at it differently, being like, okay, well, what if solving that problem also helped me solve a problem in my life? What is the gift that solving this problem gives not just my clients, but me as well? The opportunities are endless. And I think really, if I can do anything in this particular podcast, if there's anything that I can leave here, it's simply to recognize that we get to decide how the circumstance that's happening, which is neutral, the circumstance is neutral, how it's being perceived. We have this ability to switch our perception from that's a problem to that's an opportunity, to that's something that's going to teach me something about myself, to that's the lesson I needed to learn, to that's the boundary I need to enforce, to that's the opportunity to forgive that I was looking for, that's the opportunity to learn how to take something in stride that I needed. This is growing an essential skill for whatever it might be. Look at all of the ways that the things that are in front of you that currently seem to be daunting, challenging, overwhelming, insurmountable, might actually be exactly DNA coded for who it is that you want to become, for what it is that you want to do in this world. What if everything is truly happening for you? So this is the invitation I wanted to leave you with today. I would love to know your thoughts on this. Please leave some messages for me in the comments underneath. And yeah, if you like this, please share it with somebody else. And I will see you very soon. Have a great day.